Okay, so have you noticed something kind of funny lately?
Funny in what way?
Like, I don't know, it seems like every time I go to a lake or a beach these days, it's like paddleboard city out there. Everyone's just gliding around.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I mean? And it got me thinking, like
Yeah.
this whole paddleboard thing, it's clearly not just a passing fad anymore.
No,
It's like a full-blown phenomenon.
it really is.
So is there like a real business opportunity here for someone who wants to, ride this wave? Could we be onto something?
Yeah, that's a great question. I mean, so many people are craving those outdoor experiences these days. It feels like the perfect time to dive into the world of, well, paddleboard rentals.
Exactly. And guess what? We did the digging for you.
Oh, nice.
We found this awesome guide by the Small Business Kings, and it's like the ultimate playbook for starting your own paddleboard rental business.
Oh, cool.
So think of this deep dive as like your crash course, your cheat sheet for figuring out if this is the right move for you. We're going to hit the highlights, uncover some of the things you might not think of right away, and absolutely no info overload, promise.
Okay, so let's start with the most basic question. Is there really a demand for this? What's the market looking like right now?
Okay, so get this. Back in 2018, the global paddleboard market was already worth, wait for it, $1.47 billion.
Wow,
Billion with a B.
that's huge.
And they're projecting like steady growth, over 6% every year leading up to 2025.
That's impressive.
And here's the thing, that growth, it was happening even before everyone went crazy for like all things outdoors
Yeah.
recently. So that tells me there's something deeper going on here.
Right, it's not just a pandemic trend or anything.
Exactly.
Okay, but the global picture is only part of the story.
Yeah.
What does the guide say about figuring out the local demand? I mean, what's actually happening in your specific area?
So glad you brought that up because that's where the rubber meets the road, right?
Right.
The guide really hammers home the importance of local research.
Mm-hmm.
Step one, you got to identify the hot spots. Where are people already paddling? Beaches, lakes, rivers, you name it.
Okay, makes sense.
But then it gets even more interesting. You got to scope out the competition.
Oh, yeah.
Who else is renting boards? What are their prices like? Are they doing anything special? And crucially, are they missing anything? Could you fill a gap? Maybe nobody's offering those cool eco tours, or maybe there's a need for those specialized fitness paddle boards.
Okay, smart.
Yeah, and the guide even suggests, get this, a good old-fashioned Google search
Oh, yeah.
to see what's buzzing locally around paddleboarding, what people are searching for.
Love it. Low tech, but effective.
Totally. So once you've got a feel for your local scene, what are those first, crucial steps you got to take? What does the guide say about that?
Okay, so break it down for us. What's on that initial to-do list?
All right, so first up, got to master that local market research we just talked about. Got it.
Got it.
Next, you've got to figure out your budget.
Hmm.
How much can you spend on all the gear and everything?
Oh, yeah, the money part.
The money part, exactly.
Yeah.
And then this is key. You need a solid business plan. This is not just a hobby. This is a business
Right.
and a catchy name.
Yeah.
What are you going to call this amazing paddleboard empire?
Yeah, get the branding right.
Branding, for sure. Then you got to figure out how you want to operate. What's your business model? More on that in a sec.
Okay.
And then comes the stuff nobody loves, but you got to do it. Legal stuff, licenses, permits,
Right.
and insurance. Protect yourself.
Yeah.
And how are you going to keep track of all your boards, all the equipment? That's inventory management, my friend.
Oh, yeah, logistics.
Logistics. And last but not least, you've got to manage your money like a boss and tell people you exist, AKA marketing.
So many moving parts.
It is. It is.
But let's talk about that money part a little more. Like, what kind of investment are we really talking about to get this thing off the ground?
Okay, let's break down the cost. So the boards themselves, they can run you anywhere from like $500 to $1,200 per board.
Okay.
And the guide, it's pretty smart about this. It says you want to mix some inflatable boards,
Oh, yeah, those are convenient.
super easy to transport, easy to store.
Yeah.
But then you also want some of those classic hard boards for like the performance folks.
Right, for the more experienced paddlers.
Exactly. So then you got to get paddles.
Right.
Those could be anywhere from like 50 to $200 each. And then safety first, right? Leashes, those things that connect the board to the paddler, those are another 20 to $40 a pop.
Yeah.
And life jackets, can't forget those, 30 to $80 each.
Essential.
And even like board bags and covers to protect your precious cargo, those are 50 to $150 each.
Okay. Starting to add up.
It is, right.
And that's really just the tip of the iceberg, isn't it? There's always, like, those little things you don't think about at first.
Oh, tell me about it. There's always more.
So what else is on that list?
Okay, so whistles and other little safety gadgets, those are pretty cheap, like
Yeah.
5 to 15 bucks.
Okay.
Now, if you're thinking about doing lessons teaching newbies how to paddle, that could be free if you make your own materials,
Right.
or like 100 bucks if you buy some pre-made guides or something.
Uh-huh.
Now, you got to store these boards somewhere.
Right.
Board racks, those can be 200 to 500 bucks each.
Okay.
And if you're going mobile, you know, bringing your business to the people,
Oh, yeah?
you might need a trailer. That's a bigger investment, 1,500 to 5,000 bucks.
Yeah. That's a chunk of change.
It is. And don't forget pumps for those inflatable boards.
Right.
Those can be 50 to 200 bucks each.
Okay, so we're already getting into some serious numbers here.
We are, but in today's world, you kind of got to have some paint tools too, right?
Oh, for sure. It's 2025. You need a website,
Mhm.
booking system, all that.
Exactly. So the guy talks about rental software, those programs that help you manage bookings, payments, inventory, all that jazz.
Yeah.
That can be like a monthly fee, 50 to 200 bucks a month.
Oh.
And then a point of sale system.
Right, so you can take payments on the spot.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's probably an upfront cost, like 500 to 1,500 bucks. Plus, those pesky transaction fees they always hit you with.
The hidden costs.
Yes, the worst. And then liability waivers, those forms everyone wants to sign.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
You could probably get those for free or use a digital thing, or maybe like 100 bucks for some fancy templates or something.
Okay.
And now, the big one, insurance.
Oh, yeah, can't forget that.
This is where it gets real. The guide says this could be 500 to 2,000 bucks a year, depending on where you are and what kind of coverage you need.
Yeah, that makes sense. You got to be protected.
Absolutely. And the list goes on. Marketing materials to get the word out. Those can be 100 to 1,000 bucks to start.
Okay.
First aid kit, essential, 20 to 50 bucks.
Right.
If you're setting up a fixed spot, you might want some shade structures, 100 to 500 bucks.
Yeah, keep people cool.
For sure. Portable storage units, another 200 to 500 bucks.
Okay.
And don't forget cleaning supplies to keep those boards sparkling. That's like another 50 to 100 bucks a month.
So we've covered a lot of potential expenses here. What's the bottom line? Like, what's the estimated total someone should be prepared to shell out?
Okay, deep breath. The guide says on the low end, you could maybe squeak by with around 10 grand.
$10,000.
But, and this is a big but, it could easily go up to 30 grand or more,
Wow.
depending on how big you're going, how fancy your boards are, and of course where you're setting up shop.
Yeah, location, location,
Yep.
location.
Always. So yeah, you got to crunch those numbers carefully.
For sure. So once you've got a handle on the money part, how about actually like structuring the business? I know the guide talks about different business models.
It does. It does. There are like 3 main ways to go about this. First up, the home-based model.
Okay, so you're running everything from home.
Exactly. No overhead, right.
Yeah.
You're not paying rent for a separate space.
Yeah, big plus.
And you have a ton of flexibility. You can set your own hours, and you can really make the most of like online marketing and stuff.
Right, reaching people online.
Exactly. So that's a great option if you're just starting out, want to keep those costs down.
Makes sense. What's model number 2?
Okay, this one is cool. The mobile model.
Oh, interesting.
So you're basically a paddleboard nomad.
I like it.
You bring the boards to the people.
Yeah, go where the paddlers are.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Beach one day, lake the next. You're like the ice cream truck of paddleboarding.
I love that analogy.
Right. And again, lower costs because you don't need a storefront.
Yeah, that makes sense.
But, and this is a big but, you need a reliable way to haul all those boards around
Right, a good van or a trailer.
and a killer online booking system.
Yeah, so people can find you and book their rentals easily.
Exactly.
And-
Okay, ready for model number 3,
Hit me with it.
the classic, the retail model.
Yeah, brick and mortar.
You got it. So you've got a physical storefront, which is great for visibility. People walking by see your awesome boards. Maybe they pop in.
Right, impulse rentals.
Exactly. And you can sell other stuff too, like sunscreen, hats, whatever.
Yeah, extra revenue streams.
And you can really become a part of the community, sponsor local events, that kind of thing.
Okay, so lots of upside there.
But there's always a but, right?
Right.
Higher overhead costs,
Yeah. Rent, utilities, all that.
all that fun stuff. And location, location, location. You got to be in the right spot to attract those customers.
Makes sense. So we've got the home-based model, the mobile model, and the retail model, each with its own pros and cons.
Exactly. It all depends on your personality and your goals.
Okay, so let's say you've figured out your model, you're ready to roll. Now you've got to deal with all that legal stuff, licenses, permits, insurance. What are the must-dos?
Okay, this is where you got to pay attention. The guide is super clear. Operate legally, protect yourself. First up, you need a basic business license. You usually get that from your city or county.
Okay, that's pretty straightforward.
Yeah, but then depending on where you're going to be renting those boards, you might need special permits.
Oh yeah, like if you're on public waterways or something.
Exactly. And those permits, they can come from like environmental agencies, parks departments, even maritime authorities.
Wow, it gets complicated.
It does. And the guide really stresses that these permits, they're super specific to your location.
So do your homework?
Big time. No shortcuts here.
Right.
Okay, what else? You're probably going to need a sales tax permit.
Right, because you're selling a service.
Exactly. That's from your state's revenue department. And if you're hiring anyone, even like a part-timer, you need an EIN from the IRS.
Employer identification number, right?
You got it. But the most important thing, the one you absolutely cannot skip, is insurance.
Liability insurance.
The guide specifically says, find an insurance company that knows business insurance.
Right, they've dealt with situations like this before.
And even better, one that has experience with, like, outdoor and recreational activities.
Okay, so not just any old insurance policy will do.
Nope, you got to be specific. Because a standard policy, it might not cover, like, someone getting hurt on one of your boards.
Right, you got to be covered for those unique risks.
For sure. And the guide also mentions a few other things you might need, like zoning permits if you've got a storefront,
Yeah.
health and safety permits.
Oh yeah, making sure everything's up to code.
Exactly. And environmental permits if you're near, like, sensitive waterways.
Right, protecting the ecosystem.
Absolutely. So, yeah, lots of legal hoops to jump through.
It sounds like it. Any tips on actually getting all these licenses and permits?
Okay, so step one, no surprise here, research, research, research.
Due diligence.
Exactly. Government websites are your friend. Once you know what you need, gather all your documents, like proof of your business registration, your ID, all that good stuff.
Okay.
Then you got to submit those applications. Sometimes it's online, sometimes by mail, sometimes in person.
Fun times.
Oh, yeah. Bureaucracy at its finest. And be ready to pay some fees. There's always a fee.
Right, gotta love those.
And here's the kicker. Most of these licenses and permits, they expire.
Oh, so you have to renew them.
You got it. So stay organized, set reminders, don't let those things lapse.
Good advice. So, legal stuff sorted. Now you need the actual paddle boards. How does the guide recommend going about sourcing your inventory?
This is where it gets fun. The guide talks about finding that sweet spot between, like, quality and cost.
Yeah, because you want good boards, but you don't want to break the bank.
Exactly. So they suggest having a variety, some high-end boards for the pros, some more affordable ones for beginners or big groups.
Okay, makes sense.
And they even mentioned this crazy idea, paddle board vending machines.
What?
I know, right? Like those red box things for DVDs, but for paddle boards.
That is wild.
Right. So people can rent boards at like random locations.
Interesting concept.
It is. But let's stick with the more like traditional ways for now.
Yeah, let's keep it simple for the newbies.
Okay. So the guide says high quality boards, those could be anywhere from like $800 to $1,200.
Okay.
And more budget friendly ones, you can maybe find those starting around $400.
Okay, so a pretty big range.
Yeah. It depends on what you're looking for. So
Yeah.
where do you find these magical boards?
Yeah, where do you go shopping for a fleet of paddle boards?
Okay, the guide has a whole list. Trade shows are a good one, like Surf Expo or Outdoor Retailer.
Oh yeah, those big industry events.
You can meet manufacturers, distributors, see the boards in person, maybe get a bulk discount.
Okay.
And then there's always the online world. You can check out online marketplaces,
Yeah.
go directly to manufacturers, especially if you're thinking about importing boards.
Oh yeah, going straight to the source.
Exactly. They mentioned Alibaba, madeinchina.com, those kinds of sites.
Okay, so lots of options there.
But, and there's always a but, you got to factor in shipping costs, import duties, all that international stuff can get tricky.
Yeah, it's not as simple as just clicking buy now.
Nope. Now, if you want to keep things local, you can go through distributors.
Oh yeah, that might be easier.
Easier shipping, faster delivery, sometimes they even offer maintenance services.
Okay, so less hassle.
Exactly. The guide says, reach out to the brands you like and see who their distributors are in your area.
Good tip.
Another option, specialty water sports shops.
Oh yeah, they know their stuff.
They do, and they might give you a bulk discount or some insider advice.
Okay, so it's worth building those relationships.
Absolutely. And the guide also recommends, this is kind of cool, checking out online forums and communities dedicated to paddleboarding.
Oh yeah, like Reddit or Facebook groups.
Exactly. You can get recommendations for good suppliers, learn from other people's experiences.
Art.
Yeah, tap into that collective wisdom. And finally, some manufacturers will sell directly to businesses.
Oh, so you can cut out the middleman.
Yep, and maybe get a wholesale discount. Some even let you customize boards with your logo.
Nice, get that branding on there.
So yeah, tons of ways to find your perfect boards.
It sounds like it. So let's say you're ready to choose a supplier. You've narrowed it down to a few options. What are the key things to consider before making that final decision?
Okay, the guide is all about making smart choices. First and foremost, quality and durability.
Yeah, because you don't want boards falling apart after a few rentals.
Exactly. You want those boards to last, keep your customers happy
And safe.
and safe. Very important. You should also look at the warranty. What kind of support the supplier offers.
Okay, so if something goes wrong, you're not on your own.
Exactly. And how many different types of boards do they have? You might want to expand your inventory later on.
Right, offer more variety.
And nowadays, more and more businesses are thinking about the environment.
Oh yeah, sustainability.
Exactly. So check out the supplier's environmental practices. Make sure they're doing things responsibly.
Okay, so quality, warranty, variety, environmental impact, and of course, cost.
Cost, always a factor.
Mm-hmm.
But the guide says, don't let cost be the only thing you think about.
Yeah, because sometimes you get what you pay for.
Exactly. You got to find that balance between affordability and quality. Okay, so let's switch gears for a minute. We've talked about costs, we've talked about sourcing boards. Now let's talk about money management. How do you actually make this thing profitable?
Yeah, how do you stay in the black?
Okay, this is where those accounting skills come in handy, or at least find someone who has them, because the guide is super clear. You got to track every dollar, every cent.
Every penny earned, every penny spent.
Exactly. And they suggest doing some research on what other paddleboard rental businesses are making in similar areas.
Oh, smart. Get a benchmark.
Exactly. So you know it's realistic. And in this digital age, get yourself some good software to manage all that financial stuff.
Yeah, like for bookings, payments, customer info.
Exactly. Makes life so much easier. And speaking of money, how do you get the cash to start this whole thing?
Yeah, the initial investment can be a hurdle for a lot of people.
It can, for sure. So the guide mentions a few options. SBA-backed loans, those are from the Small Business Administration,
Okay.
traditional bank loans, or you could try peer-to-peer lending.
Oh, yeah, those online platforms.
Exactly. But here's the thing, and they really hammer this home, no matter how you're getting the money, you need a rock-solid business plan.
Right, to show those lenders you know what you're doing.
Exactly. Got to convince them this isn't just a pipe dream, this is a real business with a plan.
So you've got the funding, you've got the boards, you're ready to rent. How do you figure out how much to charge?
Okay, pricing strategy. The guide says it's all about analyzing your costs, what your competition is doing, and how much demand there is.
Right, supply and demand, economics 101.
Exactly. And they have this cool phrase, find the price to charge per leash to maximize profit.
Per leash, huh?
Yeah, it's all about finding that sweet spot where you're making money, but your prices aren't scaring people away.
Makes sense.
So typical prices can be anywhere from like 20 to 60 bucks an hour.
Okay, quite a range.
It really depends on the location and the type of board.
Right, fancier boards, fancier prices.
Exactly. And the guide also mentions some cool strategies to boost those profits.
Oh yeah, like what?
Dynamic pricing, so you charge more when demand is high, like weekends, holidays.
Smart.
And that per leash pricing can encourage people to rent for longer.
Yeah, like a bulk discount.
Exactly. The longer they rent, the more you make. Now, I know all this talk about numbers can get kind of abstract, so the guide has this cool example budget analysis.
Oh, that would be helpful. Can you walk us through it?
Okay, so they say, imagine you're getting those fancy epoxy boards, the high-end ones.
Yeah.
Those can be like 1,500 to 2,000 bucks each.
Okay.
So let's say you get 3 of those to start. That's already 4,500 to 6,000 bucks.
Yeah, that's a chunk of change.
It is. It is. Now, for the inflatable boards, those more affordable ones, let's say you get 5 of those, maybe around to 200 bucks each. That's another 1,000 bucks or so.
Okay.
And then you can add in all the other stuff we talked about, safety gear, transportation, storage, marketing licenses, insurance, all that jazz.
Right, those essential extras.
Exactly. So the guide says a very basic operation, you're looking at around 10 grand to start.
10,000, okay.
But if you're going bigger, more boards, more bells and whistles, it could easily be 35 grand.
Wow, that's a big jump.
It is. So know your budget.
For sure. Now, based on those numbers, what kind of profit are we talking about? Can you actually make a decent living doing this?
Okay, so the guide paints a pretty optimistic picture. They say, imagine you're renting out those fancy boards for 60 bucks a day
Okay.
and the inflatable ones for 40 bucks a day.
Right.
And let's say you're only renting them out like 5 days a month, which seems pretty conservative.
Yeah, especially in peak season.
Exactly. Well, even with those numbers, you could potentially make enough to cover your initial investment within the first year.
Wow, that's not bad at all.
And not bad at all. And that's not even counting the busy season when you could be renting out those boards every day.
Right. Weekends, holidays, summer vacation.
Exactly. And the best part is, paddle boards, they don't need a ton of maintenance.
Oh, yeah, that's a plus.
So you're not spending a fortune on repairs and stuff.
So more profit in your pocket?
Exactly. But here's the thing. You can have the best boards, the best prices. But if nobody knows about you, it's all for nothing.
Right, you got to get the word out.
Marketing, my friend, marketing.
Right.
So what does the guide say about attracting those eager paddlers?
Yeah, how do you stand out from the crowd?
Okay, rule number 1, according to the guide, you got to have a killer online presence.
Website, social media, all that.
All that, and it's got to be good. A professional website that's easy to use, and you got to be active on social media, showing off your boards, sharing cool photos, testimonials, all that good stuff.
Let's make people want to paddle with you.
Exactly. And the guide says, shout it from the rooftops, any unique things you're offering.
Like what?
Like maybe you also sell boards, not just rent them. Or maybe you have special deals, like rent for a week, get a day free, that kind of thing.
Okay, so highlight what makes you special.
Exactly. And don't forget about the local community. Get involved with paddleboard clubs, sponsor events, that kind of thing.
Right, build those connections.
Absolutely. Okay, ready for a whole bunch of marketing tactics.
Hit me with them.
Okay, so first up, SEO. Make sure your website pops up when people search for paddleboard rentals in your area.
Right, got to be at the top of those Google results.
And don't forget about local SEO.
Mm.
Make sure your business is listed on Google, My Business, Yelp, all those places.
Yeah, so people can find you easily.
Exactly. And then there are promotions, discounts, special offers.
Oh, yeah, like first-time renter discounts, group rates.
Exactly. Attract those newbies, those big groups. Everybody loves a good deal.
For sure.
Partnerships are huge. Team up with local businesses like hotels, cafes near paddling spots, those tourist info centers.
Oh, yeah? Smart.
Get your name out there. And you can even host events or classes.
Oh, like introductory paddleboarding lessons.
Exactly. Get people excited, teach them the basics, maybe even turn them into regulars.
Okay, I like it.
And content marketing is big nowadays. Write blog posts, make videos about paddleboarding in your area, share them on social media.
Yeah, show off your expertise.
Exactly. And don't be shy about participating in local events, like those outdoor recreation expos.
Right, get your face out there, meet people.
And a referral program is always a good idea. Reward people for bringing you new customers.
Word of mouth is the best advertising.
Totally.
Yeah.
And if you've got the budget, you can always dabble in paid advertising, like Google Ads or Facebook
Yeah,
ads.
target your ideal customers.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And last but not least, build a community around your business.
Oh, yeah, that's important.
Make people feel like they're part of something special, maybe offer loyalty programs, organize paddleboard meetups.
Smart.
So yeah, it's all about being creative, getting your name out there, and making people feel good about choosing you.
Makes sense. So we've covered a lot of ground here, from the basics to the nitty-gritty. But there's one crucial piece we haven't touched on yet. Safety.
Oh yeah, that's non-negotiable.
Absolutely. What does the guide say about creating a safe and positive experience for your customers?
Okay, first and foremost, excellent customer service.
Right, from the moment they contact you to the moment they return the boards.
Exactly. Make them feel welcome, answer all their questions, be helpful, you know the drill.
Okay, customer service 101.
And of course, safety, safety, safety. The guide recommends offering some basic training for beginners.
Oh yeah, like a quick lesson before they hit the water.
Exactly. And clear rental agreements so everyone knows the rules, the risks, all that good stuff.
Right, no surprises.
But when it comes to actually being out on the water, there's no room for error. So the guide has a whole checklist.
Okay, lay it on us. What are the must-dos?
First up, proper equipment, life jackets for everyone, no exceptions,
Absolutely.
and leashes that connect the paddler to the board, just in case.
Okay, smart.
And those life jackets, they got to fit right. No loosey-goosey stuff.
Right, gotta be snug.
And then safety briefings. Even if someone says, oh, I'm an expert, you still got to give them the rundown.
Yeah, refresh their memory and make sure everyone's on the same page.
Exactly. Basic paddling techniques, how to use the safety gear, what to do in an emergency.
Okay, good to know.
And you got to inspect and maintain your boards regularly. No rusty screws, no loose fins, no funny business.
Right, preventative maintenance.
Exactly. And those rental agreements, make sure they clearly spell out the safety rules.
So everyone knows what's expected of them.
Exactly. You could even have age and skill restrictions for certain boards or locations.
Oh yeah, like if the water's rough that day.
Exactly. And of course, you got to be a weather watcher.
Right. No renting out boards in a hurricane.
No way. Have clear policies for when it's not safe to paddle and stick to them.
Good call.
Yeah.
What else is on that safety checklist?
Okay, so designate safe paddling areas, especially if there are boats around.
Yeah, you don't want any collisions.
Definitely not.
Eh.
And everyone signs a liability waiver, acknowledging the risks.
Standard procedure.
And you got to have first aid kits on hand, and someone on your staff should know basic first aid and CPR.
Just in case.
Always be prepared. And have a clear emergency response plan with all the important numbers like the Coast Guard, the local fire department, all that.
Okay, so everyone knows what to do if something happens.
Exactly. And last but not least, educate your customers about any potential hazards in the area.
Like what?
Like maybe there are shallow spots with rocks or areas with strong currents.
You're right, so they can avoid those spots.
Exactly. So yeah, safety is a big deal, but it's also a big part of building trust with your customers.
Makes sense. They're more likely to come back if they feel safe and taken care of.
Exactly. So as we wrap up this epic deep dive into the world of paddleboard rentals, what are the key takeaways? What have we learned?
Yeah, give us the SparkNotes version.
Okay, so it seems like there's definitely money to be made in this business. People love paddleboarding. It's only getting more popular.
Right. The trend is your friend.
But starting and running a successful business, it takes work. It's not just about throwing some boards in the water.
No, there's a lot more to it. Host.